Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something I think a lot of us have thought about. Dating successfully.
Yeah, how to actually make it work, right?
Exactly. We're using a YouTube video transcript from Tam Kaur. It's called How to Date Successfully for Women High-Value Dating Standards and How to Get Princess Treatment.
Quite the title.
It is. But the idea is to really unpack what she means by setting dating standards and, what that could actually do for your dating experiences.
We'll look at the whole bare minimum thing. What is it really? And how you figure out what you actually want.
Yeah. So Tam Kaur, the creator, she's got this YouTube channel, and this video comes from her own experience.
Right. She talks about her journey, like moving from feeling she had to settle, feeling insecure, to now getting what she calls princess treatment. Which, sounds pretty good.
It does. She gives examples like regular flowers, dates being properly planned out.
Oh, and never paying the bill, doors open, random surprises.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, the kind of thoughtful stuff. So it's quite a contrast to how she felt before.
Definitely.
So if you've ever felt like maybe you're settling a bit in dating, or you're not sure what you're worth, maybe, or just curious about getting, better relationship experiences,
then this deep dive should give you some food for thought. There are some practical ideas and mindset shifts she suggests.
Okay, let's jump in. First big topic, this problem with idolizing the bare minimum. What does she mean by that?
Well, she uses this really interesting analogy. She talks about two hypothetical women, Lola and Athena.
Okay.
So Lola, she kind of operates with really low expectations. Let's say 15 out of 100 is her standard for a relationship.
Right.
So if a guy comes along and offers, 20 out of 100.
She thinks it's amazing.
Exactly. She feels super lucky. But Tam's point is, Lola hasn't actually defined what she wants. She's just reacting to whatever's offered, which isn't much.
Gotcha. So she's pleased with slightly better than terrible, basically.
Pretty much. And then there's Athena.
And Athena's different.
Totally different. Athena starts at 100. She's already happy, fulfilled in her own life. A partner is an addition, someone who needs to add real value.
So for someone to be in her life, they have to meet that high standard, bring something significant.
Yeah. Carr's argument is, if you don't have clear standards, you're sort of signaling you'll accept mediocrity.
Which can lead to settling and then maybe feeling jealous of people who seem to have better relationships.
Exactly. It's about being intentional. Lola's reacting, Athena's proactive. She's designing her dating life.
Moving from just taking what comes to actually deciding what you want. That makes sense.
And thinking long term, having these standards isn't just about, the first few dates. It helps avoid bigger problems later.
How so?
Well, if you're clear from the start about values, mindset, lifestyle alignment, all that stuff.
You're less likely to find out 6 months down the line that you're fundamentally incompatible.
Right. It's like a filter, Carrie says. It helps protect you from future potential heartbreak.
Okay, so how do you know if you are maybe idolizing this bare minimum? She gives some examples, doesn't she?
She does. It's like a little checklist almost.
Yeah.
Things people often romanticize, but she argues are just basic.
Like what?
Things like opening doors, being polite to waiters or staff.
Yeah.
Basic communication, actually listening, responding properly, asking about your day.
Right, not just waiting for their turn to talk.
Yeah, and replying to texts within a reasonable time, initiating plans sometimes.
Good manners, kindness, a good morning text.
Yep, the sidewalk rule, where they walk on the outside. Being present when you're together, being patient.
It's interesting because some of those things do feel nice when they happen.
They do feel nice, but her point is, should they be the highlight? Or just the expected baseline of DC human interaction?
That's the key, isn't it? The bare minimum is subjective. And she's saying, if you raise your personal baseline,
you'll likely attract better experiences. She makes a distinction, too.
Between what?
Between a really low bar, like just wanting kindness and loyalty, which she says is just basic human decency.
Okay.
Versus having higher standards that include more deliberate, thoughtful actions.
And she admits she used to have low standards herself.
Yeah, she's quite open about it. Says she tolerated poor treatment because her expectations were low, and that led to, her words, shitty dating experiences.
Right. So it makes you think, doesn't it? Well, what do you consider the bare minimum? Are some of those things on her list things you get really excited about?
If they are, maybe it's time to, rethink that baseline a little.
Okay, so if the bare minimum needs an upgrade, how do we define high standards? And this princess treatment idea, What does that actually look like for her?
She gives her own list, which
Yeah.
is pretty detailed. It concludes being wined and dined.
Okay, so nice dates.
Yeah, thoughtful dates that actually match her personality, not just generic stuff.
Makes sense.
Emotional maturity in a partner, support for what she does, chivalry, like the door opening, yes, but also being properly included in his life, meeting friends, family,
Right, being part of his world.
intelligence, ambition, being financially stable, knowing how to drive.
Practical things too.
Shared values and morals are big for her. Aligned future goals, lifestyle aspirations.
Definitely. And valuing self-development, mutual growth, supporting creative stuff, and having safe, healthy communication.
Wow, that's quite comprehensive.
It is. And she knows people might react negatively, call it unrealistic or picky. What does she say to that? Basically, that she gets those comments, often from men, she says, but she's actually experiencing this treatment now with her current partner.
So it's not just a wish list, it's her reality. Which kind of proves her point, I guess.
Yeah, it suggests that what seems too high to one person is just someone else's normal, achievable standard.
And crucially, princess treatment isn't some fixed definition, right? It's personal. Absolutely. What makes you feel cherished and valued might be totally different from her list. And that's fine. It's about figuring out your own version.
So how do we do that? How do you figure out your own high standards list? She gives some homework, you said.
She does, yeah. Some practical exercises. First one involves looking at your past relationships.
Okay, digging into the history.
Yeah, she suggests listing out your exes, then writing down the pros and cons of each relationship, why it ended, how long it lasted.
To spot patterns.
Exactly. See what worked, what didn't, maybe identify needs you didn't even realize you had back then. She found this super helpful herself.
Avoid repeating the same mistakes kind of thing? But what if you don't have a lot of relationship experience? What then?
She's got advice for that, too. Poses a
Like-
bunch of questions to get you thinking.
Like what kind of questions?
Things like maybe take a love language quiz to understand what makes you feel loved and supported.
Okay, practical.
Think about shared interests. What do you actually want to do with a partner? How do you want to spend time together?
Right, beyond just existing in the same room.
Yeah. What specific things make you feel loved? Is it surprises, being taken out, deep talks, vulnerability?
Getting specific about the behaviors.
Envision your dream romantic gestures. How do you want a partner to act when you're sad? How do you want to handle arguments?
Ooh, the conflict part is important.
That's very. And imagine weekends together do your ideal lifestyles match up. What about character traits, independence, work ethic, how they treat their family and friends?
The core values again.
Yep. Personality, their future goals, do they align with yours? It's really about getting granular.
It sounds like a lot of self-reflection.
It is, but it moves you from just having a vague idea of a nice person to a really concrete picture of what a fulfilling partnership looks like for you, creating your own blueprint.
Okay, so you have this list, this blueprint, but surely not everything is equally important. She talks about negotiable versus non-negotiable standards, right?
Yes, absolutely crucial distinction. Your core values, the things fundamental to your well-being and feeling loved, those are non-negotiable.
Like her example about wanting flowers weekly. If that genuinely makes you feel loved, maybe that is non-negotiable for you.
Exactly. It might seem small to someone else, but if it hits a core need for you, you shouldn't compromise on it.
But other things might be more flexible.
She suggests things like, say, superficial stuff, maybe very specific physical preferences. Being too rigid there might mean you miss someone amazing who meets all your core needs.
The danger of being overly picky about the wrong things.
Right. Focusing on, I don't know, their taste in emojis or something trivial.
Yeah.
And overlooking the fact they offer genuine support, respect, and align with your values. It's about prioritizing what really sustains a relationship.
Okay, that makes sense. Prioritize the deep stuff over the surface stuff. But you still need to give people a chance, right? She has this 2-date rule.
She does. And she applies it to the talking stage, too, kind of. The idea is not to dismiss someone instantly based on one potentially awkward first meeting.
Because first dates can be nerve-wracking.
Totally. People aren't always themselves. So if the first date wasn't terrible, just maybe not amazing, give it a second shot. See if something clicks when the nerves settle.
And for the talking stage.
Same logic. If texting feels a bit flat or you're unsure, maybe suggest a quick phone call or video chat before writing them off. Get a better sense of the actual person.
Give connection a chance to spark beyond just text.
Exactly.
Now, she uses this term high-value men a lot and contrasts it with low-value men. That kind of language can sometimes feel loaded. What's her definition here?
Yeah, it's important to clarify her meaning. For Kaur, high-value men isn't about social status or money necessarily. It's about their intention in dating.
Okay, how so?
She describes them as men who date intentionally to bring positive value to your life. They want to provide, care for you, make you happy.
And low-value men.
Are those who, in her view, date more to take something, validation, sex, whatever, without focusing on contributing positively or providing that princess treatment.
So it's about their approach and mindset towards their relationship.
Largely, yes. She sees high-value men as generally independent, fulfilled already, and choosing to date you for specific reasons, valuing who you are.
Whereas low-value men might be more about what they can get, less intentional.
That seems to be her perspective. They might lack clear intentions or try to gain without giving much back.
It's good to understand her framework. It's her personal take based on the dynamics she values.
Right. Centered on intention, contribution, and making the partner feel cherished.
Okay, so you have your standards. How do you communicate them without sounding like you're reading off a list of demands, especially early on?
Her main rule, particularly at the start, is observe. Don't explicitly teach.
Watch how they treat you.
Exactly. See if their natural behavior aligns with your fundamental standards. If it doesn't,
Move on.
pretty much. She argues you can't really coach someone into meeting your basic needs, especially not right at the beginning. Their actions speak volumes.
She gives an example, right, about travel for a first date.
Yeah, like if someone expects you to travel a long way for a first meet without offering to meet halfway or acknowledging your effort, that tells you something about their consideration.
Fair point. But does that change later in a relationship?
Definitely. Once things are more serious, she says communication shifts. It's less about testing and more about vulnerability and open conversation.
So, not demands, but expressing feelings.
Right. Like, this is how I feel about X, or physical affection is really important to me. How do you feel about that? It becomes a discussion about shared values and expectations.
More collaborative?
And for maintaining standards in an ongoing relationship.
What's her advice there?
Positive reinforcement. Praise and appreciation work way better than nagging.
So notice and appreciate when they do meet your needs.
Exactly. It encourages them to keep doing it. Much more effective than constantly pointing out flaws.
Okay, but what if, despite everything, your standards just aren't being met consistently? What then?
Her advice here is very straightforward.
Which is?
Leave. End the relationship.
Wow, direct.
Yeah. Her reasoning is firm. You cannot fundamentally change another person.
Trying to force it doesn't work.
No. And she also argues it puts you in your masculine energy, trying to control and fix, which hinders your ability to be in your feminine energy of receiving. That's her framework anyway.
Regardless of the energy framework, the core message is, if your essential needs aren't met, they're not the right person for you.
Precisely. It's about self-respect, ultimately.
Which can be tough, but necessary sometimes. Okay, let's talk about some mindset blocks. She addresses common fears, right? Like being alone if you have high standards.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. The idea that you have to lower your standards or you'll end up alone.
How does she challenge that?
First, she questions the premise that being alone is automatically bad.
Right. There are other kinds of love and fulfillment.
Exactly. Family, friends, community, hobbies, passions. Life is full of other sources of connection and joy. Settling romantically shouldn't be the default answer to fearing solitude.
She mentioned her self-love year, didn't she?
Yes. Where she deliberately focused on herself, her growth, her happiness.
And ironically, that's when she attracted a better partner.
Kind of, yeah. The idea is that when you're genuinely fulfilled on your own, you project a different, more attractive energy. And she stresses keeping that self-focus even in a relationship. Don't lose yourself.
What about the pressure to settle down and be realistic? That advice people sometimes get.
She says, basically, ignore it, or at least consider the source.
Meaning?
Is the person giving that advice actually in the kind of happy, fulfilling relationship you want? Often, she suggests, it's just their own limiting beliefs being projected onto you.
Don't let other people's compromises dictate yours.
Exactly. Then there's the insecurity about looks. I'm not attractive enough to find love or have high standards.
What's her take on that?
She argues looks aren't the main thing at all. It's your self-perception, your confidence, your sense of worth that matters most.
How you carry yourself.
Yeah. Projecting that you value yourself is key. She also pushes back against narrow beauty standards. Embrace what makes you unique.
And her practicing self-love when single, buying herself flowers, solo dates.
That was her setting her own standard for treatment, showing herself how she deserved to be treated so she wouldn't accept less from others.
That's powerful. And finally, situationships.
Oh, she has a very strong view on those.
Not a fan.
Definitely not. She sees them as accepting way less than basic commitment and loyalty, essentially settling for crumbs.
Prioritize long-term well-being over short-term attention, basically.
Yes. And get clarity early on about intentions and where things stand. No ambiguity.
Okay, wow. Lots to unpack there. To wrap things up, she gives some concrete homework tasks, right? Things you can actually do.
She does. 4 main tasks to work on yourself and stop self-sabotaging patterns.
Task 1.
Find your attachment style. There are quizzes online. Then work on healing it. She recommends the book Attached. Or therapy, other resources.
Understanding your patterns in relationships. Okay, task 2.
Learn what love actually is. She suggests bell hooks all about love, or researching Hook's 7 components of love. Go beyond the Hollywood version.
Get a deeper definition. Task 3.
Start your self-love journey, actively. She suggests following her on TikTok for ideas, but also, crucially, take yourself on a solo date this week.
Like, actually plan something nice for yourself.
Yep, coffee, museum, nice meal, whatever. Treat yourself well.
And task 4.
Learn about masculine versus feminine energy. Her take is this helps women step into receiving mode, raise standards, avoid control issues, and also recognize healthy masculine energy in potential partners.
Okay, so some deeper work there as well.
Definitely some self-development involved.
So let's try and pull this together. The main takeaway from Tam Kaur seems to be that setting high standards isn't about entitlement.
No, it's about self-worth, knowing you deserve good things.
And it requires defining what good actually means for you, being specific about your needs and desires.
Right. And having the self-respect to walk away when those needs aren't met. It takes courage.
It involves self-reflection, understanding yourself, and not just accepting the bare minimum because you're afraid of being alone or think you don't deserve better.
Absolutely.
So here's a final thought for you listening. Think about maybe one thing, just one bare minimum thing you might have been settling for.
Something you've accepted as good enough.
Could you reevaluate that one thing? Maybe raise that specific expectation just a little. What tiny shift could you make?
Even a small change in mindset or action could potentially lead to a different, maybe more fulfilling dating experience down the line.
Definitely something to ponder. And we really do encourage you to explore these ideas more if they resonate.
Yeah, look into attachment styles, maybe read bell hooks on love. Definitely practice that self-love.
Remember the resources, attachment quizzes online, the book Attached, All About Love by Bell Hooks. They're great starting points.
Because ultimately, prioritizing yourself, knowing your worth, that really is the foundation for attracting the kind of relationship you deserve.
Couldn't agree more. That's all for this deep dive.